of thorns. And so that would hurt. And that's, you know, he usually wears that during the crucifixion. And they put sort of royal robes on him and things like that. So, again, it was all to, because don't forget, Christ was executed as a common criminal, along with two other thieves who will be in just a second. But to us, I'm not sure. See, all these sort of piercings with arrows through hands, I'm honestly not sure specifically what they might or might not mean, but whatever they are, they're rather dangerous looking. But also, now, don't actually bother to write everything down here. But just to show you how we sort of, you know, come pretty far from understanding images like this, because, well, first of all, our medicine is so superior and wonderfully scientifical nowadays, if you buy into that. But back then, they believed in the four humours of the blood, and they would test your blood and see what colour it was and things like that. So just for your interest's sake, don't say I'm not good to you. I thought, because this is very good pub trivia question stuff, all about the four humours. Then if you go from that, you go to the 7 deadly sins. I never met anybody who can get all 7, but anyway, the four humours aren't that, because the characters here represent the four humours. Lower left, and I'll tell you what they are, just sanguine. Lower right is choleric. Upper right is melancholic. And upper left is phlegmatic. Now this is what the humours do, because they all match up to everything else. The humours, the first humour is blood. And then it matches up with the seasons. That matches up with spring. Then with the 4 elements, with air. The organ of the body is the liver. Its qualities are warm and moist. The old name for it was sanguine. And the characteristics are you're courageous, hopeful, and amorous. So you have to see which one of you, which category you all fit into. Second one is yellow bile. You're not trying to type all this down, right? No. They can Google. Just put Google this if you want to know. Yeah, okay. So yellow bile is the next one, and that's summer. So we're going spring, summer. Then fire, because we've got air, fire, earth, water. That comes from the gallbladder. It's warm and dry. The name is choleric, and you are easily angered and bad-tempered. The third one is black bile, and that ties in with autumn. Earth, the element, the spleen, the body part, cold and dry, melancholic is the old name, and that means you are despondent, sleepless, and irritable. That's me, actually. And then the last one, phlegm, spelled P-H-L-E-G-M. What a good language English is for spelling. Why isn't it F-L-E-M? P-H-L-E-G-M. Oh, no, I've done this to some of you before. My favourite English word, and if you know it, you're not allowed to shout out because you've done it before. How do you pronounce the letters G-H-O-T-I? G-H-O-T-I. And the answer at the end of the class. So, phlegm is winter. Water, the brain and lungs, it's cold and moist, it's the phlegmatic name, and it's calm and unemotional. So again, presumably, most people looking at this in around-ish 1500 when it was done would have got all of that, and they would immediately look at the thing, oh yeah, he's phlegmatic and he's choleric and things like that. And I bet there aren't too many people nowadays, without a little bit of help, who could reel off all that stuff. Because I had to Google it and find it all that. I mean, thank God for Google. Anyway, this is the other one, which again, I'm troubled because some of the people are kind of annoying and kind of a little bit sort of over the top, silly. But there was obviously a lot of piercings back then. I mean, you think you're doing this sort of thing and being modern nowadays. No, look at them all. They've almost all got something going on. And what it is, again, this is the Christ carrying the cross on the way to Calvary. He's sort of falling under the weight of the cross. There are people sort of weighing it down and all sort of shouting and being annoying and sort of arguing in the background. I'm not sure how many people could be sort of vaguely identifiable, but Christ is sort of, he's the only vaguely normal one, I guess you could say, face-wise, except for her. And we've met her before, that's Saint Veronica, the one with the big hanky. In fact, she's holding up the big hanky, and there is Christ's face sort of looking straight out of the picture at us, almost, you know, making eye contact, almost sort of accusingly in the corner. But again, very, very claustrophobic and too much punk rocker type maybe stuff going on. And here's another one actually with Christ carrying the cross more visibly. But he sort of knows how to overload things, because actually he's got attached to his legs are boards with spikes on them. So he'll either step on them or they'll whack him on the ankles, which adds even more fun to the torture of crucifixion. Wearing the crown of thorns. See people leaning their weight on the cross to make it even heavier. Toads on shields, that's usually just sort of symbols of bestial nature, that kind of idea. People with whips, that's not good. And again, absolutely claustrophobic. Again, the bottom part, just by the way, is, well, I didn't even write down where it is, so don't worry about it. Very often there's more than one version anyway. And dates where you see jumping all over the place. So at the bottom right-hand corner, that appears to be, see there's a figure sort of rather frantically saying confession, so that might be the good thief. Because the idea was Christ is usually crucified between the two thieves. Usually his head sort of leans slightly, well it should be towards his right. And there's the good thief who at the very last second recognized who Christ was and went straight to heaven. Because that's sort of the idea is if you really believe, you know, it's never too late. And the bad thief, so that's probably him over here with all of his sort of punker friends in the background. Anyway, that's sort of a little bonus business in the foreground. He can be relatively straightforward, old Bosch, when he puts his mind to it. I'd rather like this one. And again, these aren't important, so don't worry. Crucifixion with donor. It's in Brussels. So here's the donor with amazing pants. Rather like that. Remember Adam? He's lost a bit of weight again, so he's looking a bit skinny. And that's St. Peter with his keys in behind. And a fairly straightforward landscape. Usual stuff like too much starch in the loincloth and all those sort of things. But no, it's not quite as weird as he's going to be. I like this one because it sort of shows, you know, a number of different things that are, first of all, sort of what can happen to pictures over the century. It's called either Ecce or Ecce Homo, H-O-M-O, Behold the Man. This again is just before the actual crucifixion, where Pontius Pilate basically presents, I think it's Pilate, not Herod, presents Christ to the people to give them the choice, to sort of get him off the hook. And it's all rigged. You see, there's a real criminal called Barabbas, and the crowd has all been stirred up, and they say, we want Barabbas to go free, crucify Christ. And so that's what, you know, this ignorant, dumb crowd over here is sort of screaming for Christ's blood. In fact, well, you can barely read it, but there's in Latin saying crucify and coming out of them. And he's saying Ecce Homo up here, as Christ is sort of presented. And he's all, you know, the flagellation and the blood from the crown, and all looking at rather poorly. But sort of what's the fun part is that down here, probably the picture changed hands later on. So the original donors, the people who paid for the picture, have been either obliterated or they're just kind of worn off a little bit. And it very often happens that the men get to be on one side, the women on the other side, you know, boys and girls as well, split up. And what the men are saying here, I don't think the women get to say anything at all. They're a little clustered crowd over there. And the men are saying, basically, what are they saying? Salve nos Christe Redemptor. Save us, Christ the Saviour. So that's, again, you know, you sort of huddle in close to Christ and you'll live ever after. Anyway, that's the sort of little lead up. There are three major altarpieces I want to show you. And I think all of them belonged to Philip II, who was the King of Spain. And he was one of the great bigots of all time. I think I've mentioned it before. He's the one who, if you know English, he married Bloody Mary, the older daughter of Henry VIII, the daughter of Catherine of Aragon. So, you know, they were very closely related, as most of these people were. And his point about marrying Mary was because Henry VIII, again, if you know your English stuff, he'd broken away from the Church of Rome to found the Church of England, with him at the head of it, of course, so that he'd get a divorce from Catherine of Aragon. And now the idea was to bring the Church of England back into the Roman Catholic fold, basically. So marrying the Queen of England seemed to be a good plan. It didn't work, because the next Queen, Elizabeth, fought the Spanish and beat them Spanish on Milo.